Hey everybody, it's Gomedex and welcome back to another Arena Cube draft. Let's see what we've opened up here. Looks like nothing super insane. At least in cube terms. In a regular draft, this would be a ridiculous pack. I guess there is Tender Shoot Dryad, which if it's not immediately dealt with, it gives you tons and tons of sapperling tokens that it's really not hard to hit the city's blessing, so they're very likely to be 3/3s at least. So it's kind of a lot of threats off of just the single card. Even if your opponent deals with it at like sorcery speed, you're still getting at least one sapperling out of it. So you are getting like 1 3/3 remaining. So I think this card's really good. It's just nice. Any card that gives you multiple cards out of the one card, whether it's multiple creatures on board, multiple cards drawn, with Thirst for Knowledge, stuff like that, can be quite good. However, Phylath can be really good as well, and there is a lot of ramp in this cube. Stuff that'll search out multiple lands from your deck and put them into play. Yeah, Phylath is really good. Phylath is multicolored too, though. Inscription's good, Shalai's good. Kind of a hard choice here. I think I do want to stick to the Tender Shoot Dryad, though. It's just a very good card, and it's only one color. Leaves us a little bit more open in the future. With Dryad of the Elysian Grove in this pack, I'm a little disappointed I didn't just run with Phylath, because Phylath into Dryad would be a very good start to this draft. Those cards go together like peanut butter and jelly. Dryad gives you multiple land drops each turn. It also fixes your mana for multicolored stuff like Phylath. So that would have been great. But that being said, Dryad is still very good, so we could still take it here. With how I've seen this cube going, I think Dryad is probably the best card in this pack. However, Hydroid Krasis is really good as well. But I think Dryad might have the edge over it just because these multicolored 3 or 4 color piles with just a lot of value cards tend to be really, really powerful, and Dryad goes incredibly well into those. That being said, Hydroid Krasis is one of the really big value payoffs that you would want in those kind of decks, so it's really close there between those two. I think those are definitely the best cards to pick here. Got like 5 seconds left, so I gotta pick one of them. I guess I'm gonna go with the Dryad here. I don't like passing up on the Hydroid Krasis, but the mana fixing and the double landfall triggers off Tender Shoot Dryad are pretty great. Nothing actually that huge for a more multicolored landfall-y kind of deck out of this pack. A lot of stuff that would just work in a pretty regular strategy. I suppose Tristani Discordant kind of goes the best with our Dryad of the Elysian Grove. We can try to do some kind of, or not our Dryad, our Tender Shoot Dryad. Why do I have 2 Dryads? This would be my 3rd Dryad if I picked this. That is so confusing. Okay, I was trying to say this would go really well with Tender Shoot Dryad because they both fit into a similar kind of deck, a deck that's going to want to spit out a bunch of tokens. So yeah, I guess Tristani Discordant makes the most sense as our pick here, but wow, that is really confusing. I've now picked 3 Dryads. This is just Dryads.deck. Let's go with it. I don't think we can pass it up for that reason, too. That is just synergy right there. Dryad Tribal, my god. Alright, we can really go all in on Selesnya tokens here with Angel of Invention, another card that's going to give +1/+1 to all our creatures, and it's going to spit out 2 tokens by itself as well. We've really got a theme going here. However, it's not a Dryad, so I guess we could pass it and just take Turn Timber Symbiosis instead. Just like a green land. That way I don't have any non-Dryads in this deck, but no, I think it'll be Angel of Invention here. I just really like just going in on this strategy, really. And now Ancestral Blade, maybe? Maybe the Valorous Stance or the Assassin's Trophy might be better. Get a little bit of interaction with our opponent. Both of these can destroy one of their permanents. Assassin's Trophy can destroy anything, but it's in black, and we don't have any black cards yet, so it would be we'd be playing 3 color or splashing it off of Dryad and stuff if we end up running that, whereas Valorous Stance is already going to be firmly in our colors if we end up 2 color here. Valorous Stance definitely destroys a lot less things. It only destroys creatures, and it only destroys creatures with toughness 4 or greater, whereas Assassin's Trophy destroys anything. And Valorous Stance does have the versatility of giving something indestructible instead, though. so it could save one of our things from a removal spell. I don't actually know which is better, but I think we do want to pick up some interaction here over the blade. Maybe that seems a little weak. I guess I'll stick with Valorous Stance. I like the idea of the alternate effect on the Valorous Stance being able to give like Tendershoot Dryad, or I mean really any of these three, indestructible when our opponent tries to remove them. That could be pretty cool. We do have a Cleansing Nova here. Be mildly awkward in a tokeny kind of deck. We're not going to want to Wrath too often, but even in a deck with a lot of creatures, having like one Wrath is not the end of the world because you just don't cast it when you don't want it, and Cleansing Nova can destroy all artifacts and enchantments instead of creatures, so it's got that as well going for it. If our opponent's playing one of those decks that has like Mirari's Wake and Patient Rebuilding and all that nonsense, we could use it to just blow up all that stuff. However, we got Sacred Cat for tokens, Voracious Hydra's just like the best green card here, or Glass Casket for some early interaction. I think I'm going to roll with the Sacred Cat. Kind of a weird card here, but I think it would work pretty well against the similar sorts of decks that that the Glass Casket would work well against, while working better with our theme of wanting a lot of creatures. So Glass Casket's going to exile a creature with mana cost 3 or less, so it's really only going to help us in the early game survive against really aggressive, maybe mono white, mono red, or Boros kind of decks. Sacred Cat's going to do that too. It's going to chump block with lifelink twice, and it's also a creature, and we want a lot of creatures, and it's a creature token off of the Embalm, so I think Sacred Cat's a little more synergistic there, and fills a similar role to the Casket. While not quite dealing with our opponent's threats, it gives us some time. So I'm deciding between Skymarcher Aspirant and Wayward Swordtooth here. Swordtooth ramps, but Skymarcher Aspirant gives us some more early game. I think I'm going to take just the Swordtooth here. Then we can have Dryad of the Elysian Grove and Wayward Swordtooth in this deck, so we have two different 3-drops that allow us to start playing 2 lands a turn. So if we end up seeing some landfall stuff being open, we can try to move more into that. Here, what do we got? Integrity Intervention, maybe splash Intervention in. Probably just going to take Heliod's Intervention, though. There are a lot of artifacts and enchantments, and worst case scenario, if our opponent has none, I guess we get to gain life off of this. We can always just toss it in the sideboard and not worry about it. Phylath did wheel. Wow. Yeah, some kind of landfall synergies are probably open. Green seems pretty open too. Phylath and Inscription of Abundance wheeled. Inscription of Abundance is pretty great. 2 mana instant speed, have one of your creatures fight another creature, and if you can kick it, you can do a ton more stuff. You also give your creature 2 counters and gain a bunch of life. This card's really good, but I think it's going to be Phylath just because we have 2 cards that let us play 2 lands a turn. We can definitely try to hit up that landfall stuff, maybe move into Naya Landfall here. Hydroid Krasis wheeled too, but there is Anointed Procession in this pack. That's unfortunate. We have to make a really difficult choice here. We can take Hydroid Krasis and really commit to like 3 or 4 color green-based landfall deck, or take Anointed Procession and move back in on just green-white tokens. I feel like tokens and the 4-color nonsense is open. I'm gonna push in and try to do some kind of 4-color nonsense. These decks do exist. Thundering Rebuke, we could play with Phylath. I think I prefer Vastwood Fortification and Vastwood Thicket. Sure, Vastwood Fortification isn't that great, but it does give us a land that we can just cycle as a +1/+1 counter if we draw it in the late game. And it also works really well if we can get a Field of the Dead. That would be insane. That is another one of the cards that is perfect for your green-based, multicolored value decks. And now this is all not really what we're looking for, but I guess Pride of Conquerors does work well in a tokeny strategy, as does Ancestral Blade. And the land is very perfect for us. It's a red-white duel. We definitely are looking for that. So what do we have now? Chromatic Lantern could be another card to help fix our mana to be a bunch of colors. Micaeus and Harmonious Archon both work quite well in a token deck. Harmonious Archon basically makes it so whoever has the most creatures on board, regardless of size, is in the winning position. So if you're in a deck with a lot of tokens, this card is fantastic because it turns all creatures on the board into 3/3s. So then at that point, the only thing that matters is the number of creatures you and your opponent have, not really the quality. Or not really the size, I should say. There's Realm Cloak Giant as a Wrath effect. That seems definitely weird in this deck. I think here I want Chromatic Lantern, Mikaeus, or Harmonious Archon. Mikaeus would be because I can put counters on all of my creatures. I'm going to go for Harmonious Archon. I think I'm more looking to try to ramp with lands specifically than the multicolored artifact mana fixing. We definitely want to pick up dual lands pretty highly rather than that lantern, I feel, personally. All right. Green, black, white land. That is a green-white duel, so it could be worth it for that. Skyclave Apparition is going to be fantastic in either way this deck goes. It's just good interaction with your opponent's stuff. Exile one of their non-land, non-token permanents that cost 4 or less. That exiles most things. Kazandu Mammoth is just great, playing it as the Valley or the thick Elephant Mammoth. It is really good with landfall as well, and we do have the 2 landfall synergistic cards. The Sword Tooth and the Dryad. This is a difficult draft. This is why my recent drafts I've just been trying to like slam into mono black because that was so simple. It was like, well, just take the only black cards that are there. But here, when you're one of these highly multicolored decks, there's so many options. We've got the duel, we got the apparition, we got the mammoth. I'm gonna take the mammoth here to work with our landfall. There's Niv-Mizzet. Oh. Oh, is this my life right now? Am I gonna take a Niv-Mizzet? Right now, we could draw Hydroid Krasis, Phylath, or Trostani off of it if we hit any of those. Definitely want to pick up more double-colored cards, so Rashmi, if that wheels, is going to be a Windmill Slam. Yeah, I mean, we're still not too far away from just going Selesnya tokens. Just picking up this Venerated Loxodon or this Unbreakable formation, both of those would be fantastic in that deck. But as soon as I take this Niv-Mizzet, I feel I'm committed. I'm going to take the Niv-Mizzet. I can't just remain terrified of these heavily multicolored decks to the point where I never draft them. I've got to try them at some point. And this pack doesn't seem that great for anything we're trying to do. I guess we could take Heroic Reinforcements for just another card that we could draw off of Niv-Mizzet, but I don't know how like a million color tokens is going to work. I guess we could be like Naya tokens, just splash in the 5-color stuff. It is a token synergistic card. It is a card we could draw off Niv-Mizzet. It makes the most sense here, I guess, but Ronas is probably the most powerful card by itself, and there is a dual land. We definitely want those. Difficult pick again, as always in Cube. Ronas, Heroic Reinforcements, or Dragon Skull. I'm going to take the Heroic Reinforcements there. Rada is so easy out of this pack. So easy. I mean, I say that, but at the same time, we do really need mana fixing. So, could be Sacred Foundry. But it's not going to be Vivian. We're too multicolored to be slamming down a triple green card as powerful as she is, and Rada also helps with landfall and multicolored stuff, just letting us play lands from the top of our library, and getting +X for the number of lands we control with that 6-mana ability, so this is just going to be a great card. So, Rada it is there. Now I think I'll take the duel, but I will look over the other colored stuff and make sure I'm not missing anything super great. Llanowar Visionary would be fine. Song of Freyalise might be okay with the amount of tokens we may have. Teferi's Tutelage, of course. Good old mill nonsense. Alright, we're going to take Inspiring Vantage there. Could take Honored Crop Captain for another 2-colored card for Niv-Mizzet, but I don't think that's super necessary. Maybe just Valakut Awakening. Another modal card. It's a land or non-land, whatever we need at the time, and none of the other cards in this pack are super great. I suppose there is another flip card, but it's definitely more off-color. Our only black card right now is our card that's 5 colors, so black is definitely the most splashiest color we have. So I'd rather take the Valakut Awakening. That's definitely more on color. We've got 4 red cards. Alright, I like these lands being here. We got red, black, white, or green, blue, black. We've got a lot of white and a little bit of red. We've got a lot of green and a little bit of blue. It's got less blue than we have red, but I think green is a more important color than white, even though we have more white than green. I think I'm going to take the green, blue, black triumph. We could also just take the Hinterland Harbor there, but I think we want the 3-color land just to help cast Niv Mizzet a little bit. Chromatic Lantern did wheel. I'm not seeing a ton of cultivates or explosive vegetation type effects. The ramp spells that grab lands out of our deck, so I think at this point I'm fine just slamming down the Chromatic Lantern to help out with that. If we didn't take that, I guess we'd take one of these green cards probably, because I think we're a little far from Mikaeus now. I mean, Dragon Master Outcast can be okay. We have, as I said before, multiple cards that are going to give us multiple land drops per turn. Rada's going to help us play lands off the top. This is a deck we're definitely going to run more than 17 lands in this deck. This might be like a 19 land deck. But I suppose we're going to have some flip lands too, so we'll see. All right. Rashmi or Kiora here. Either of these is going to be a card we can draw off of Niv Mizzet. I think both are pretty good value cards. Kiora draws us a card every time we play a creature with power 4 or greater, and she can ramp us up with her -1. And Rashmi draws us a card every time we cast our first spell each turn. So I think Rashmi's pretty good there. Apparently my curve got off a little bit. I didn't have my 4s and 5s split up. Okay, what do we got here? Fauna Shaman's the most on color, and Fauna Shaman's not actually that bad. Discard a creature, search for whatever creature we want, put it into our hand. This could definitely help us pick up our Dryad of the Elysian Grove to help mana fix. That could be pretty important. Discard like a Sacred Cat or something. I doubt Sacred Cat will still be in this deck, but we'll find out. And some nonsense. I suppose we can take the non-basic land there. Probably not playing Shepherd of the Flock, but it'll go in for now. Final pack. We got Hornet Queen, a big green monster to ramp into. Blocks stuff very well. Nothing else in this pack is super great for the incredibly multicolored land-based deck. I guess Dryad Greenseeker makes a lot of sense in there if we do end up with a ton of lands in this deck, but we are ending up with quite a few flip lands, and Dryad Greenseeker unfortunately does not work with those. These are treated as non-land cards if you see them in your library. So we won't be able to draw those off of the Dryad. I think we'll be the Hornet Queen for now. If Dryad does wheel, we'll take it. If it doesn't, I guess we'll take like Brazen Borrower, because that card's just good. Or Temple of Malice, maybe. But again, our only black card is going to be Niv Mizzet, so this doesn't help us a gigantic amount. Stomping Ground is great, and Crag Crown Pathway. These are the lands we're looking for, like red, green, stuff like that. And not missing out on a gigantic amount of stuff by taking this. We are not grabbing Experimental Overload here, which would be another 2-colored card to grab off of Niv Mizzet. But I think we can still really use the mana fixing here. Other than that, we are like 5-color. We're more heavily into green and white, so we could take one of these white or green bombs like Lyra or Rishkar's Expertise. I think Lyra's a little better than Elspeth generally, but if we were firmly in Selesnya tokens still, we would actually probably take Elspeth over Lyra, just because she helps spread things out onto the board and give multiple creatures +2/+1. I think we would have been in a great position to just stick with Selesnya tokens. I don't think that would have been that bad at all, but as I said before, this is a draft. I feel like multiple times I've seen that the 4-color kind of value decks, 4 or 5-color value decks, have been pretty open multiple times in my drafts, and my last 2 drafts where I ended up in mono black, at least in one of them, the Field of the Dead kind of deck seemed incredibly open, and I chose to just not go into it because I was just scared of how difficult that could potentially be to draft. And I feel like it panned out really poorly for me because that draft went 0-3. So I want to kind of, like, I want to get rid of the fear of drafting these 5-color decks and just commit to doing it here. So Bone Crusher Giant's actually really good. Shatter Skull Smashing is a flip card, and Vizier of the Menagerie lets us cast our creatures with whatever mana we have. However, I'm going to keep taking these lands here for the mana fixings. How many lands do I actually have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? 5 cards that are only lands? So that's 26. 26 including these 4 flip lands. We might actually not be cutting much here, because I think I'm going to take a land again. Karuga would probably be pretty good, though. It's another blue-green card. Maybe it'll wheel, though. I definitely want lands still. I think the green-white land's best for us. We're going to have the most green and white. Fabled Passage is a pretty beautiful land. Grab us whatever color we need, but there are multiple multicolored cards to draw off of Niv Mizzets. Multiple versatile ones, too. Escape to the Wilds draws us a bunch of cards. Night of Autumn can do whatever we need. It's just a decent threat on its own, or it destroys an artifact or enchantment. Felidar Retreat, though, is quite powerful, and it does have those landfall synergies. This is an incredibly hard pack. Escape to the Wilds would be great card draw. Felidar Retreat goes great with landfall. Fabled Passage is just perfect mana fixing. I don't actually know what's right here at all, but I'm going to roll with the Felidar Retreat just because, once again, we've got Dryad and Wayward Swordtooth, and if we somehow wheel that Fabled Passage, that seems almost completely impossible, but if we somehow do, that will be just lovely. So I don't think I have that much removal and interaction with my opponent's stuff right now. I just have a lot of big threats of my own here. Yeah, really not a lot of removal. So I'm actually going to take Banishing Light over the Chapel and the Watery Grave. Chapel would be the best land to take here because we're pretty heavy into white, but I really want to pick up at least a few more removal spells. Rootbound Crag is a very, very good land for us, but so is Tangled Florahedron, and I did just say I am definitely looking for more removal so we could take Cast Out, but I also want more 2-colored cards to work with Niv Mizzet, like Domri. This is exactly what I was talking about. I don't know how people draft these decks. They are difficult to figure out what to do. River Guide Pathway and Lava Guide Pathway seems pretty great. I cannot speak at all today. Lotus Field seems good too, but you have to sacrifice lands, and the mana you're getting is only 1 color when you play it. I actually kind of want Spring the Mind here as well. Grab a basic out, whatever basic we need, and then we can draw cards off of it. I like this card a lot. Maybe too much. We did wheel the Dryad Greenseeker, so we'll scoop that up. Now I am going to end up cutting some cards. Ooh! Crag Crown Pathway wheeled, and so did Experimental Overload. I don't think we have that many instants and sorceries, unfortunately. That would be a blue-red card to grab off Niv Mizzet, but we've got like 1, 2, 3... We only have like 5 instants and sorceries in this deck. I don't think we're going to trigger that incredibly often. Sweltering Suns, it might be good to have an early game Wrath. And we've got a lot of red duels now, so the mana cost wouldn't be that difficult. However, Shatterskull Smashing, a land that we can play as a spell later, that is a really powerful spell, seems good too. Yeah, we'll take that. We are wheeling these multicolored cards. We're pretty heavy into white, so Godless Shrine is going to be over the Fetid Pools. Oh, get that Escape to the Wilds. Don't mind if I do. And I'm not going to play these cards. Definitely not going to play Active Treason. Probably not playing the Witch's Oven. Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing here, but this deck looks fun. This deck looks fun. We are going to make a deal with the devil here, and we're going to join in on the 5-color, 4-color just value piles. They do seem quite powerful. Alright, I think that's all of the Parallax card styles out of the deck. How many lands do I have right now? So this is 17 lands, right? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, this is 17 lands. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 22 lands if you count our flip lands. Seems like a good amount to me, because obviously we want to play these as spells sometimes. Definitely the Mammoth. Everything else here, I guess we could mainly just play as as lands most of the time. Alright. Back to not knowing what I'm doing. Dragon Master Outcast is going to stay in. We've got multiple ram cards. Dryad, Wayward Swordtooth, and Spring to Mind, mainly, are the ones that'll work great with the Dragon Master Outcast, getting to those 6 lands quickly. Sacred Cat, I'm not so sure. I think I'll take that out. Pride of Conquerors, definitely not going to be an aggressive deck that will be doing early pumps like that, or cheap pumps like that. Heliod's Intervention doesn't interact with a lot of stuff, just artifacts and enchantments. So I'll dump that out of there. Apparently I still have a Fauna Shaman card style on. Get that out of here. Alright. Dryad Greenseeker. We do still have 17 actual lands in here to trigger off of that, so that seems fine. And we do want to draw them a lot. Fauna Shaman seems okay. I can sort out by creature and see how many we have here. Oops, I gotta do this. We actually do have a lot. So Fauna Shaman might be okay. I think I'm going to cut this Ancestral Blade. We're just not aggressive. Not going to be using equipment or a little 2-mana 2/2. Oh, I forgot about Valakut Awakening up there. Spring to Mind, get back over here. Why is my curve all different again? Definitely keeping the Dryad, the Swordtooth, and the Rada. Keeping our 3-drops. We want that interaction with Banishing Light, the ramp with Spring to Mind, and the fixing of Chromatic Lantern. I mean, maybe with the amount of duels we have, we could possibly cut the Lantern. So what are our weakest kind of bomby cards? Maybe the Angel of Invention? We're more looking for those 2-color ones that we can also draw off Niv Mizzet. I don't really want to cut too many of my bomby cards, though, but I do have to cut 5 more cards here. With the amount of flip lands I have, I could start cutting a few lands, but I've heard that you really want a ton of lands in these decks, and that makes sense to me. We don't actually have a Field of the Dead, so we actually don't need a million lands, but we still have great landfall triggers with Felidar Retreat, Dragon Master Outcast, Phylath. And we wanna hit our lands on curve up to like 6 mana. Especially with Dryad and Swordtooth. Maybe we cut like 1 land here. I'm also gonna have to look at my mana costs and actually choose my basics amount, because this seems really incorrect right now. But maybe it probably took into account what all my duels were for, and that would make sense then. But I'll definitely need to double check on that. So I could just cut a land and then cut like an angel. Maybe I do cut Fauna Shaman. Just start cutting more creatures here. Heroic Reinforcements doesn't do a whole ton because we're not that aggressive. It's just our only Boros card to potentially draw off of Niv Mizzet. Doesn't make a giant amount of sense in here. Shepherd of the Flock really doesn't either. It's basically just a 2-drop. Actually, probably should have cut that before Fauna Shaman. So get out like Shepherd and then Heroic Reinforcements, and then that would be the deck. Maybe throw Fauna Shaman back in, cutting like another land or Chromatic Lantern? I don't know. Maybe even cut Harmonious Archon. Yeah. That sounds good to me. Throw in a Fauna Shaman, get rid of a Harmonious Archon. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 just straight up lands. 5 flip lands. So 21 lands total, but 5 of those have spells we can cast instead also. Alright, let's look at the colors here. Oh, good dear God. I can't with this. Alright, we've got 5 white symbols, 5 blue symbols, 7 red, 16 green, and 1 black. So white, blue, and red are pretty even, and then we have as much green as all 3 of those combined, basically, and 1 black. So green is by far our heaviest, and black is by far our lowest. So we've got 1, 2. Right now we have 3 black sources. We have Godless Shrine, Zagoth Triumph, and Chromatic Lantern. I kind of want to throw a Swamp in here just for Spring to Mind if we have that one hand where we really need it to cast Niv Mizzet. Then, how many green sources do we have? Because that is the most important. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Kind of want to go up to 8 if I can. I think I definitely want to go up to 8 if I can. I've got 2 drops and 3 drops at green, the vast majority of them. Cut that island, throw in another forest. That would be 8 green. 9, 10 if you count Khazan-dû, Mammoth, and Vastwood Fortification. That seems good. I think I definitely want like 10 green. Green is our main color, and it usually is in these piles. Alright. So now white, blue, and red are all like our next ups. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 red sources, not counting our basic mountain. Do we have any spells that require double red? We don't have a single spell that requires double red, and our 1-drop at red, our cheapest red card, we can just play late game because it's not going to do anything until we have 6 or more lands anyway. So I'm 100% okay cutting this mountain and just not being able to get that off of Spring to Mind. That seems fine to me. We've got plenty of non-basic red sources, so I'm going to cut that mountain. Our only double red is Shadow Skull Smashing, which we can just play as a land anyway. This is something we're never going to cast until we already have a million lands anyway, in which case we'll probably have double red. Alright. So I like that. How many blue? 1, 2, 3, 4 blue sources? That is not enough. I'm going to throw in another island at least. That's 5 blue sources plus Chromatic Lantern, obviously. 5 blue sources plus Chromatic Lantern. We have Hydroid Krasis, Rashmi, and Niv Mizzet. I guess that is enough. Those are our only 3. Hydroid Krasis and Niv Mizzet we are 100% going to play only in the late game. I accidentally cut Hydroid Krasis. That would be terrible. Oh my god, what is wrong with my mouse? It is like immediately clicking on it when I'm trying to hold it down. Alright. So yeah, I'm trying to move Hydroid Krasis into the really expensive slot up here. So Rashmi at 4 is our earliest blue spell. I think we're definitely fine with 1, 2, however many blue sources I said. I think we're good. So now on to white sources. I'm going to definitely make sure to go into this video, into the description, and have timestamps for everybody so they don't have to watch all the deck building if they don't want to. Alright, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 white sources as well. Just as many white sources. White is a little bit earlier, but both of those are removal spells, Valorous Stance and Banishing Light, so we can wait to play those until later. Felidar Retreat, we would want to ideally get out as soon as possible. But again, basically our white curve starts at 4 mana, so we're fine with 6 white sources, and then we've got On to black, we've got that one swamp. I think this is good. This is a mana base. I've got no idea how this is gonna go, but here we are. I did the thing. I still hate it and wish that I had drafted Selesnya tokens instead. I think that was very open as well with what we were seeing in those packs. Could have had a pretty fun, pretty sick Selesnya token decks, I think. We could have just drafted the simple way, but in the long run, if this deck goes like 3-3 or better, I'll be proud of myself for trying to learn this strategy, because it is a very viable, very popular strategy in this cube. So I should try to get to know it a little better, you know? Alright, opponent goes Swamp, Mountain into Mind Stone. Our hand is a great start, because now we can Wayward Swordtooth, play a second land this turn. If we draw land off the top, we get to play Tendershoot Dryad. And then try to get that City's Blessing really quick for Swordtooth and Dryad to both just be insane. There's a Skittering Surveyor from our opponent, grabbing a basic of their choice. They grab a Forest, so they're on Jund at the very least. We did not draw a basic land, unfortunately, but Valakut Awakening is still a land. I kind of want to play Rada here. And then if we see a land on top, we can play it with Rada. If we don't see a land on top, we can play Valakut Awakening as Valakut Stoneforge to make sure that we have our 5 mana for Tendershoot Dryad next turn. I like that a little better than Chromatic Lantern here, because it also commits a creature to the board. We're only facing off against a Skittering Surveyor, and we definitely want to hit City's Blessing. Nice, we had 2 lands on top, which is really good. Now I can actually go for the City's Blessing this turn by playing Godless Shrine untapped, and then dropping down Chromatic Lantern. Now I get to get a swing in. Oh, am I 1 off? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? Oh, I'm 1 off. I miscounted. I still like Godless Shrine into Chromatic Lantern there. Just really get ramped up that turn. But I thought it was going to be a really good play where I'd also have the City's Blessing and get to attack with Swordtooth. Not quite there. 1 land away from City's Blessing, which you achieve by having 10 permanents. Oh my god, Dryad of the Elysian Grove on top, and we've got Escape to the Wilds here. I kind of want to just play Tendershoot Dryad, because I definitely want to put something on the board right now. If they end up removing Tendershoot Dryad, that'll be a little sad, but I actually have the mana to give it Indestructible with Valorous Stance, which is the combo I was talking about. With really good threats like the Dryad, Valorous Stance's alternate ability of giving Indestructible is actually pretty huge. So now we've got the City's Blessing. Doesn't matter if our permanents die now, we have the City's Blessing forever. So I'm not going to play Valakut Awakening as a land at that rate, because now I've got enough mana and a lot of pressure on board. I guess I could still play Valakut Stoneforge, so I have a little bit more mana for whatever I do with Escape to the Wilds, if I want to move into that. So opponent drops a Chromatic Orrery. They're actually on 4 color as well. They've got every color out except for blue, but I think we're just off to a better start for sure with Tendershoot Dryad out. Now they're almost tapped out. Oh, they're going to try to Abrade it. We're going to give it Indestructible. Thank you very much, Valorous Stance. Putting in some real work. Alright, grab another 3/3 token. They're down to 12. Dragon Master Outcast on top. Do we actually just play Escape to the Wilds, and at the worst, we're casting Dragon Master Outcast here? I think we do. Yeah, Dragon Master Outcast. We're going to cast Hornet Queen next turn. I can do Dragon Master and Fauna Shaman. Fortification's going to do less than Valakut Awakening, I think, so I'll just play that as a land. So I can definitely do Hornet Queen and other stuff next turn. And we're in a huge position now. Rada only has first strike during their turn, so we get to swing in with our 3/3 Saprolings as well, which is really good. They're going to need a board wipe right now. Even if I do that, I can now reassemble a board with Hornet Queen, and then draw more cards off of Mind on Spring to Mind. I'm feeling good. There is an Overwhelming Splendor cast on us, but we're still going to have lethal on board with just the amount of creatures that we have.
Unfortunately, that does shut off all of our creatures' abilities, so if we cast Hornet Queen now, Hornet Queen is a 1/1 that doesn't come with any friends, which is pretty sad. But we've got lethal on board still. They only have 2 blockers and they're tapped out, which means send in with everybody. The rest of the 1/1s will finish off that game. So, pretty quick game 1 against basically the mirror match. We just managed to get our colors and our ramp a lot quicker. The Wayward Swordtooth putting in a lot of the work there, giving us multiple land drops a turn. And Rada as well let us draw multiple cards by letting us play 2 lands off the top in the same turn. That was pretty great. Rada plus Swordtooth working together in perfect harmony. Don't mind if I do, I'll do it again. Alright. I will absolutely do it again. Rada, Swordtooth, let's go. Again, Fortification, drawing it this early, I think I'm just going to play it tapped. I guess this hand doesn't actually have much going on in the late game, but Rada, if Rada doesn't immediately die, she's going to draw us a lot of cards. Like if we're flooding out, she just draws them off the top. Yeah, I am going to play the Fortification as a land, as the Vastwood Thicket. We're against red-blue with a Magmatic Channeler, which cares about instants and sorceries and grave. So that makes me a little worried that we're going to be playing against a deck with a ton of removal, lots of burn spells, 2 mana 4 damage stuff, 2 mana 3 damage stuff, all of that. Thundering Rebukes and Lightning Strikes and all kinds of ways to kill our creatures. So I think I'm going to lead with Wayward Swordtooth. At worst, Wayward Swordtooth gives us 1 additional land play the turn we play it, and Wayward Swordtooth is going to be a little harder to kill. And I think Rada is more important here because of the fact that we have less... we just don't have any big plays coming up. So sure, Swordtooth's going to spit out these lands really quickly, which is great, but we're not actually ramping into anything, whereas Rada draws us out of any mana flood. She draws those lands off the top, makes sure we actually hit more spells. So Rada's more important, so we'll play Swordtooth first, see if it gets killed or countered or anything. I actually have the mana to play Umara Wizard here, and I think I'm going to do that. Our opponent has 4 mana up. I highly doubt they don't have either a counter spell or a burn spell that can do at least 3 right now. I feel like they might just not be killing the Swordtooth because they don't have something to deal 5. So I definitely think I want to just play Umara Wizard here, see if it gets countered or burned. Either of those would be great because it doesn't do a whole lot. Oh, I totally forgot I can play 2 lands. Pretty easy for me to forget. I'm pretty bad at that kind of stuff. I do have triple red right now, so I actually might want to play the white source. Actually, we'll play the green source. That's the most important. We have like Hornet Queen in here that we just want 1,000,000 green for. There's a young Pyromancer. Whenever they cast an instant sorcery, they now get a 1/1 elemental. Pretty likely that they'll follow that up with some sort of burn then. I'm getting pretty close to the City's Blessing to try to go off with Wayward Swordtooth. Oh, they actually had Magma Jet in hand that they ended up discarding to Magmatic Channeler because it can only do 2 damage to a target. So they actually didn't even have the damage to kill Umara Wizard. Well, at this rate, I guess I'll play Rada. If I have 2 lands on top, that'll be fantastic. They've got 1 blue up, so I know they can't kill her immediately. So we'll get at least 1 turn of value off of Rada. Shatterskull Smashing... I kind of don't want to play that as a land, but it does let me draw cards by doing that. I could Spring to Mind and shuffle it away. Do I want to draw into that? 2 red and X deal X. If it's 6 or more, deal twice X divided. So I can kill 2 of their things with that, basically. That seems okay. Not exactly what I need right now. I think I'm okay with drawing that later, so I'm going to cast Spring to Mind. Give my wizard flying. Grab a swamp, I guess. And then we did hit another land on top, and Niv Mizzet's coming up. Okay. Let me make sure I've got good mana for it. So I've got black, blue, green, red, white. Yeah, I already have Niv Mizzet mana, so I can play this land as whatever. I'll just grab another white, I guess. can send in there. I actually can send in with both. They don't have the mana up to do a 3 damage spell to like trick me with first strike here. The only reason not to attack here would be if I'm saving for blocks. I'm okay, I can take 5. Yeah, we'll send in. Deal 9, put him down to 11. Next turn we're dropping Niv Mizzet with Mind in the graveyard to draw a couple more cards later. And they just passed the turn. Still no removal for Rada. Makes me a little worried. 8, 9. 9 mana here. Don't have enough mana to do Niv Mizzet and Mind. I don't really want to just drop Niv Mizzet because, like, what if it gets countered? Guess I'll go Chromatic Lantern first, see if that draws anything. That hasn't drawn any counters. Valakut Awakening, I don't think I'm going to have a ton of cards in hand at any point, so I'll actually just play that as a land. There's another land, so that'll give me more mana in the future. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana here, so I can hold up 3 after casting Niv Mizzet. I've got a 2/1 first strike, so they might try to do some instant speed tricks. I think I'm cool sending everybody in. I don't need any of these cards that much anymore if I can get them to tap out to try to burn them out. And they're down to 11, so I definitely want to keep the pressure on. And this also gives me the option of spending the 6 on Rada's ability to give her like plus a million. No matter what, they've got to chump block Rada here at worst. Oh, nice. They're going to deem worthy. Cast it to kill Rada, which means they'll be tapped out so I can cast Niv Mizzet. So the question is if I want to save Rada or cast Niv Mizzet here then. I think I would rather cast Niv Mizzet. I know I'm at least drawing Tristani off of Niv Mizzet, and Niv Mizzet's a big old flyer that could definitely finish off our opponent. If I save Rada, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, she's a 14/14. She's not going to die this turn if I plus her. I'm going to let her die. I'm going to let that trade happen. Now they can trade off into my wizard by blocking with a 2/1 and a 1/1. And they do, and they take 5, go down to exactly dead to Niv Mizzet if they don't get a flying blocker. That's pretty nice. Alright, we know Niv Mizzet will draw us at least 1 card. Let's see, spin the Niv Mizzet wheel. Now that they're tapped out. Pact of oh my god! Brutal! You gotta be kidding me! That's rough! Oh my god! I literally played around the counterspell to get them completely tapped for Niv Mizzet, and then they had the 0 mana counter. The only 0 mana counter in the game. Good lord. Alright, well, Tristani Discordant it is, with Mind as well. I might just cast Mind first, see what we draw into. At least they're tapped out now because they had to pay for the pact or lose. So I know everything this turn's resolving. Hydroid Krasis still draws a ton of cards even if it doesn't resolve. I have 20 cards in the library, so I don't have to worry about milling. So we'll cast Tristani Discordant, and next turn we'll do a real big Hydroid Krasis, I think. I think that's the plan. They only have 4 power worth of blockers. They're going to chump block with their 1/1 here. I still like my position. This deck still has lots of great draw and value and stuff that I think I can still overwhelm my opponent. They're at a low life total. I have the board advantage, and very soon to have card advantage with Hydroid Krasis. Alright, another land. Sure. Green, blue, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I can green, blue, and 11. And draw 5. Just have a super full grip. Probably want to go to combat first again. I'm not going to draw anything with haste. Should just send in with everybody, see if I draw out any burn spells here that makes stuff resolving more likely. Did draw out a Brazen Borrower. That is kind of bad. Kills my token, and now they have a chump blocker. They could triple block Tristani, actually, if they want to kill her pretty badly. She can only kill 1 creature if they do that. Should be trading Young Pyromancer for Tristani. So they have 2 cards in hand. The question is going to be, they did discard 1 to draw a card. So they have 1 card in hand. If that card's not a counterspell, I think Hornet Queen is super game. So I actually kind of want to do that instead of Hydroid Krasis. They only have 1 card we don't know about, and it's literally a counter. Wow. Well, I can still Krasis as a 4/4, which will be a 5/5 flyer. We know that their only play is Brazen Borrower unless they top deck something. And we're going to draw 2 cards off of it still. I think I still want to pressure our opponent here, and sure, we're not getting a lot of value out of this, but it's a big flying threat that they have to deal with immediately or die. Still drawing a couple cards. Maybe should have just stuck to the giant Krasis plan. Yeah, I suppose with Brazen Borrower, Hydroid Krasis still has trample, so Krasis is still lethal if I draw a land for Felidar Retreat. Oh, they don't even play Borrower. Well, now they're just straight up dead. Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, now they're just dead on board. Alright. 2 wins. No losses. I don't know how I feel. I mean, I'm proud of having drafted a somewhat successful deck so far, but at the same time, I'm not a huge fan of this strategy, so I don't know if I should be, like, not proud. Maybe I should feel slightly grimy or something. At least I'm not playing, like, I don't know, Mill. I do like Mill too, though. I like playing Mill sometimes. I guess it turns out I'm just a hypocrite. If I'm playing the deck, I'll have fun with it. It's all cool. Alright. Head into round 3 here. 2 wins, no losses yet. Only gotta win 1 more to get that even 3-3 run. Yet again with the perfect mana base. Let's go. Unbeatable mana base, really. Absolutely absurd. How does he do it? Alright, there's a swamp for our opponent. We do have a Kazandu Mammoth, but we're going to have the double green for that later, so I'm just going to chill with it. And we're definitely going to have double green with a Chromatic Lantern out. Have whatever mana we need. Opponent goes swamp into forest. They are on Golgari. Dropping down a Skyclave Shade. Not what I want to see. Not what I want to see at all. Because they can recast that. Anytime they landfall, they can pay its mana cost and recast it again. And they can even kick it from the grave too. If they kick it, it's a 5/3. Can't block, so it is just a very aggressive card. I don't have anything that's going to block that well. I guess I can play Dryad. I don't really want to risk losing Dryad on blocks. And I'm not going to play a second land this turn, so I'm losing a little bit of value there, but yeah, I guess I play a 2/4. Nice big booty Dryad. I could play Mammoth as a land here. I guess with Hydroid Krasis coming up, the 3/3 with the landfall pumps isn't going to be doing a ton for me. So yeah, we'll ramp up with our Kazandu Mammoth. I don't love it, but I think it's fine. Oh, alright. Get my Dryad. Do your thing. I want to see it. Disfigure. -2/-2. Aw, so we don't even trade. Alright. Well, let's use the Green Seeker. So the reason I went for that block there was to get any kind of tricks and removal out of their hand, because of the fact that I don't have any more lands in my hand, so Dryad isn't doing really anything for me at this point, and I already have every color from Chromatic Lantern when I need it, so Dryad's not actually helping a lot. I think I'm going to play Rada first in case there's a land on top. However, the argument against that is I could go Chromatic Lantern, land Rada, and then I can have Chromatic Lantern and Rada on the field. I can't do that if I do it the other way around. Yeah, a little rough, but I'm going to do that. I guess worst case scenario, if it is a land on top, I just draw it with Dryad Green Seeker anyway. So that's cool. Alright, here's Rada. It is not a land on top anyway, so correct plays were made. Since we know it's not a land on top, we can actually hit him for one with Dryad Greenseeker. I doubt they're playing Haste in a black-green deck. If they are, it's going to be Questing Beast, which I can't block with Dryad Greenseeker anyway. Alright, I guess we're not attacking in case we hit a land here. I don't have any natural blue sources, so just in case they pop my Chromatic Lantern with something, I'm going to grab an island so I know I can Hydroid Krasis. And yeah, I'm not going to attack just in case we hit a land on top now. It would be more valuable to draw that land than it would be to get 1 damage off on our opponent. Oh, a Rankle. We're going to both sacrifice a creature here. And then they can just recast Skyclave Shade. At this rate, I think it's better to just trade with Skyclave Shade, because if I don't, they just use the sack ability and I take 3 and then they trade. So yeah, we're definitely blocking here, because it doesn't even cost them anything to have us both sack a creature. So the trade is just guaranteed. So I'll block, check the top. It is a land. I'll draw it. However, now there's no way they're going to do that discard ability now. But I had to do it then because Rankle's ability doesn't trigger until combat damage, so it wouldn't trigger until my Greenseeker's already dead anyway. Alright. They are going to have us both discard a card. Okay, that's fine with me. They discard a swamp, I discard an island, obviously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. If I play Shatterskull untapped, that'll be 8. That'll be drawing 4 cards off of Hydroid Krasis. I think that's my biggest play. It's worth the damage for sure. I guess alternatively, red, 2 red, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Scattered Groves comes to play tapped, so I can't use that if I'm casting Smashing. I could smash for 5, kill Rankle and do 2 to my opponent. That seems less good. I think I want to... I guess I'm 1 mana away from actually using Smashing for this X equals 6. So I could alternatively just draw 1 less card off the Krasis and keep a Smashing in hand. That's probably the actual best play. We'll just draw 2 cards instead of 3. These are good cards too. Escape to the Wilds and a Valorous Stance. Escape to the Wilds is the really powerful one, but Valorous Stance is fun as well. Chainer's Edict. Make me sack a creature. What is this? Get out of here. Get out of here. Edict.deck. Well, we're going to smash Rankle because he's being real annoying. Oh, Dragon Master Outcast. That's pretty sick. Don't mind if I do. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. If I do that, I don't have enough mana for smashing for 6, though. But since I'm just killing those both, I don't actually have to pay the full 6. I can just pay like 4 or 5 and split it up. Yeah, because who cares if I'm doing 6 damage to a 1 toughness creature, you know? Alright. Dragon Master Outcast, get on the board. Please don't die. And Shatterskull Smashing. Use the front side. For 5 is as much as I can spend. Choose these 2. We're going to do 4 to Rankle, just in case they have Subtle Strike. I don't think Subtle Strike's in the cube, and they only have 1 green mana up anyway, so doesn't matter. That's how we're paying it. Alright. Please survive, Dragon Master Outcast. If Dragon Master Outcast survives, they are 2 mana off from flashing back the Chainer's Edict, so we don't have to worry about that. If they don't have another removal spell, Dragon Master Outcast can definitely take over this game with 5/5 red dragons coming every one of our upkeeps. Would be fantastic. Nope, they do have Voracious Hydra to go ahead and fight our Dragon Master Outcast, but again, our deck is chock full of value, so we can actually just escape to the Wilds here and go for some big stuff. I could play Rashmi, but Rashmi doesn't do anything until the turn after you play it, because if I play Rashmi, she is the first spell of the turn. So I'm just going to play Escape to the Wild, see what we hit here. If we hit nothing, we just Valorous Stance. Oh my god, I hit Niv Mizzet. 2 mana away from that, though. I'm 2 mana away from Niv Mizzet and Tristani, but I can play both of them next turn, so I think we play a land from this pile, obviously, because we want to get the full value. And then just Valorous Stance on Hydra while they're tapped out. Seems fine. next turn, Niv Mizzet Tristani should be huge. Wait, why can I play 2 lands? What? Did I not just play a land? What do I have that lets me play 2 lands? Oh my god, Escape to the Wilds does. I forgot about that part. That's cool. That means I get to cast Spring as well then. Cool. So I actually could have cast Tristani, I guess. Didn't notice it, but that's fine. This play is good too. Alright, they're at 6 mana. They get to recast that Skyclave Shade, and they're 1 away from Chainer's Edict. There's got Eternal Bond too. If they sack those land, they won't be doing Chainer's Edict anytime soon. They do sacrifice some land. This is a fair choice because Tristani Discordant obviously is going to give me multiple creature tokens to sacrifice anyway. So let's drop our Niv Mizzet. They have 1 green up. Niv Mizzet is going to resolve. We did draw into Phylath, but that's it. But that's fine. Phylath is huge. We play Phylath and get a counter on one of our plants. That seems like the biggest thing to do here. Rather play the Stomping Ground. I can cast Umara Wizard later for another creature. Pretty massive turn. Tristani is going to go away forever here, but I think Phylath is enough of like a huge threat in comparison to Tristani that it's still worth Phylathing immediately. Wayward Swordtooth. So we could play multiple lands a turn, however, can't play them off the top right now or anything, so we're not really going to be doing that. I only have 12 cards in my deck. I don't really want to mill myself, but I do have... I've got massive threats here, so I think we're fine. Alright, we'll play Rashmi. Do I want to play Wizard as a land? I think I want to play Wizard as a land. Because it's just going to be a 4/3, potentially flying any turn I cast an instant or sorcery. But if I just play it as a land, I just get another 4 or 5 on the ground. Immediately. Which is good. Yeah, I have 12 cards. I'm going to cast Mind as well. Ooh, Tendershoot Dryad. Oh my god. Alright, they have nothing to block Niv Mizzet. If we send in with both of these, God Eternal Bontu can block one of them. And the Death Toucher blocks the other, so I only get to kill 1 creature off the attacks this turn. I think we just send in Niv Mizzet. Niv Mizzet's a really fast clock by himself, so if all their removal from now on is just sacrifice removal, I can just sacrifice plants. And that should be fine. Helm of the Host? Don't have the mana to equip it yet, but they could throw that on like an Orzhov Enforcer and get really annoying. Ooh, Felidar Retreat. Oh, Felidar Retreat. This is going to be hilarious. Let's just go in. I'm just going to run right into a Languish, but it's worth it, because look at this. Let's just go. Let's just go. Let's just jump right into it, guys. Ooh. I don't even know what I'm doing at this point, but it's good. Alright, there's the scoop. It was enough. I didn't do the math. I just saw the potential to landfall into 1,000,000 +1/+1 counters and vigilance on everybody, and I figured that would probably be enough. Turns out opponent agreed. They probably didn't do the math either. Because that was ridiculous. Alright, 3 wins and no losses. For 5-color landfall. 5-color shenanigans. 5-color chicanery. Whatever fun word you want to think of. 5-color shit. Alright. Back again with the great mana. Got a tri-colored land into 2 untapped lands the turns after it, so we can play Wayward Swordtooth on turn 3. We could even play a Mammoth as a land if I really want, or a Shatterskull Smashing. The mana is fine. The curve is slow. So if our opponent's mono red, or Gruul, which I think that's that land. Oh, Boros. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Ketria Triumph's a little more relevant. It gives us our 2nd red for Shatterskull Smashing, which we could cast early. We could cast this on like turn 5 to do 3 to something, or 2 to something and 1 to something else. So that could be relevant. I'm just going to play the green, blue, red tri-land first. The red is more relevant. Oh god. Needle Verge pathway into another red. Please don't kill me that fast. I think we play another tap land here. We don't have any 2-mana cards. We'll play the Zagoth Triome. Just get as many colors as possible off of these tri-lands. Gonna take 2 here. At least we're not under as much pressure as we could be against the red deck. We're taking 1 damage from each of their creatures. They're just little 1-power dudes. Goblin Chain Whirler is a lot scarier. 3/3 first strike, and it does a damage to all our stuff when it comes into play. So now I get to play Swordtooth or Rada. Swordtooth can't block anything, but it lets us start playing an extra land each turn, which with a Shatter Skull Smashing coming up could definitely help us try to get out of this. Yeah, I think I'm going to play Crag Crown Pathway for the second red, so I have enough for Shatter Skull. Then I'll drop Wayward Swordtooth and play my Mammoth as a land. So I don't think I'll be using it as a blocker, because I'm going to want to play 2 more lands next turn, so I'm going to want to draw another land here on top of the Mammoth. Now we get to take 5. We're going down pretty low, but hopefully Shatter Skull Smashing will be enough here. Hornet Queen pretty soon, too. Didn't draw another land for Smashing, so Smashing would only be for 3 right now. I can only kill Chain Whirler with that. I'm at 6 permanents. I need 4 more permanents to block with Wayward Swordtooth. I could play Hydroid Krasis to gain a couple life. I guess 3, so I'd only gain 1 life. But then I'd have a 3/3 blocker. I definitely want a blocker here. But anything that I block with isn't going to be able to trade with the Chain Whirler. If I play Rada, though, if I have more lands on top, I'm going to play another land this turn for potentially a big turn next turn. Ooh, what, I take 5, go to 6 on board here? If they have, like, Hellraider, I'm pretty dead. I think I'm gonna play Rada, really hoping for a land on top. Oh, great. Alright. Not worth the life, for sure. We do have another land on top. So I'll have Hornet Queen mana next turn now. So the biggest thing I'm worried about is direct burn, because next turn I can drop Hornet Queen and have a lot of blockers. Chain Whirler's still a threat, for sure, but Swordtooth will be able to block by that point. So they just have a Chandra, +2 to do 2 damage to any target. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. That's going to do 2 to me every turn, no matter what. So I can trade my Rada for Gitu Lava Runner here, which isn't great, but I'll have 7 mana next turn anyway, so I'll have a lot. And it gets the 2 damage to hit Rada instead of my face. I think I'm all about slowing down my opponent at this point. It's worth the trade. It's worth the trade. Just to make sure I survive. Because alternatively, I'd be at 7 here. I'd go down to 5 after Chandra burns me, which means next turn they could +2 her and I'd go to 3. Then I'm in range of so many burn spells. So I think Rada's definitely worth the sacrifice there. So now the choice is between Hydroid Krasis, Shatter Skull Smashing, and Hornet Queen. Shatter Skull Smashing, I'm 1 mana away from doing 6 to 2 different things, so I could be able to kill Chain Whirler and Chandra. If I had enough mana for that, but I don't. And Chandra's probably going to be at 7 next turn, unfortunately, so I think Chandra's just going to live for a bit. I think we're just on Hornet Queen. Hornet Queen gives us a million blockers. Swordtooth can block. All these Hornets can block. I think this makes them resort to just burn spells at our face now. They could main phase shoot my Wayward Swordtooth for 2 mana, so I don't have great blocks on the Chain Whirler that I'd have to block with like 4 Hornets. Oh, they're just going to shoot my Hornet Queen. That's 100% okay with me. I've still got 4 Flying Death Touchers. The power toughness on those doesn't matter too much to me. The only thing where this blows up in my face is if they have like a flicker effect on Chain Whirler. That would be really bad. Anything to just do like 1 damage to the rest. Torbran is terrifying with Chandra's ability to do 2 damage. Now Chandra can do 4. So I'm dead in 2 turns to Chandra's ability. So... Oh my god, I really needed to land. I really needed to be able to kill Torbran and Chandra here. Now I can only kill one of them with Shatter Skull Smashing. If I had one more land, I could Shatter Skull Smashing Torbran and Chandra for 6. And then throw 1 Hornet at Chandra to finish her off. With 7 mana, I guess I can play Niv Mizzet. I don't think I do that, though. I think I have to just deal with Chandra, probably? More so than Torbran? Because even without Torbran, Chandra does 2 to me a turn, and I'm only at 8. Rough. I am going to shoot Chandra for 5. Wait, what? Cancel. I guess just choose only Chandra. It won't let me choose 2 and then have one of them be 0. There. And then I still have 3 blockers here. Obviously this is going to suck if they have removal. I'm going to get hit for a lot. But if they don't have removal, I still have enough blockers to block everything. Which Chain Whirler will survive, because Chain Whirler is basically a 5/3 first strike now, but the non-first strikers I can Death Touch away. There's Riel the Everwise. It doesn't really change things, so that's fine. Discard a card, draw a card, discarding, oh god, Earthshaker Kenner, so they can eternalize that as a 4/4 haste that makes it so something with power 4 or less can't block that turn. Shut off one of my blockers. Pretty scary. And they did draw into a Magma Jet, which can do 4 damage with Torbran. But I think the most valuable play would be to just shoot my face for 4 and scry 2. Try to just scry into the final burn spell. That's what I'd do if I were my opponent. But maybe they do want to get rid of some of my Death Touchers to be able to swing in more often. I'm not sure with Torbran how this works. I think if I block with all 3, Chain Whirler dies? I actually think if I only block with Sword Tooth and a 1/1, Chain Whirler dies. Because if they want to kill... Oh no, they have a Magma Jet. What am I saying? I think I'm at 8. I would much rather they Magma Jet one of my creatures here. Alright, if this kills all my creatures, that'll be mildly sad, but okay, because I'm going to Hydroid Krasis next turn, have a big blocker and a lot of life. I'm pretty sure the way Torbran works is you still have to put lethal damage on pre the pump, but because they had Magma Jet there, they can just say 1, 1, and 1, unfortunately. If they didn't have Magma Jet there, I think I could have done like a little trade thing. Okay. Torbran's still terrifying. That Earthshaker Kenner is going to shut off one of my Hornet blocks. I can Niv Mizzet and Rashmi. Then that's a little more blockers than Krasis is, but then I'm not gaining any life. Good lord. The choices. I can't Niv Mizzet and Rashmi. I'm actually 1 mana off from that. Always 1 mana off here right now. This game. Turns out I actually need 1,000,000 mana. I guess I'm doing Hydroid Krasis then. Might as well do the one that gains life instead of just draws cards. Both would be a 6/6 flyer, so it's going to be just as big of a blocker either way. 3 lands! Oh no. I was looking for them. I was searching for those lands for a while. We have found them. Oh, this Riel plus Magmatic Chandler for value here is... It's bad. It really, really hurt us to have to Shatter Skull Smashing only one thing away. Okay, we're just dead. Hellrider with Torbran means anytime any of their creatures are attacked, we take 3 to the face. They just attack with all 4 and I die. I don't know what is... the math is here for our opponent. Just hit that all attack button, and I am dead. They found it. All right, we're super dead. Brutal game. Brutal game. That was another game I felt like I was always like one turn from stabilizing. But just losing out on that Shatter Skull smashing was pretty much the game. That was pretty much lethal. Suppose if we drew like Banishing Light for Torben or something, we could have still been in it, but didn't get there. Alright, I think I'll keep this one. This one's really slow, because we're not going to play anything until we play Hydroid Crisis, and we might have to play Hydroid Crisis on like turn 4, just as a 2-2. Gain 1 life, draw 1 card. But I don't really want to mulligan here. I'm going to keep it. Definitely a risk if we're playing against a... Uh-oh. We're playing against the Field of the Dead deck. We're basically going to be playing against our deck, but better. That's my assumption. Just our deck, except it has a Field of the Dead. Ooh, Tendershoot Dryad's coming up with this hand, too. Pretty nice. They did hit a land off the top. It's a Canyon Slough, so they have green, black, red right now. There's a Witching Well, scry 2, and then later on they can spend 4 to draw 2. Scrying for a while here, choosing 1 on top and 1 on bottom. They've got green and blue out, they've got red, black in hand, they have a Prophetic Prism on board, they've pretty much assembled 5 color already, we just drew into an escape to the wilds. That doesn't help us play any early game plays still. But it's given us more late game action. That we have in droves, but I'm sure our opponent does too. They did draw a card off Prophetic Prism. They're going to draw more cards off Witching Well. They drew a card off Greenseeker. I mean, they have Field of the Dead on board too, so even if they don't have any non-land stuff, their lands are going to start turning into threats as well. Oracle of Muldiah is really bad for me. They get to look at the top card of their library, play lands from the top of their library, and play an additional land on each of their turns. So that's essentially what I was doing when I had like a 2-card combo of Wayward Swordtooth and Dryad of the Elysian Grove, or Wayward Swordtooth and Rada, except Oracle of Muldiah does it all by herself, which is pretty crazy. So very good card. Well, we have a Chromatic Lantern now. We're still not under any pressure, so I think I'm just playing maybe Vastwood Fortification tapped into Chromatic Lantern. I was going to say Stomping Ground tapped, but I think, once again, I just want so many lands that I'll just play Fortification as Vastwood Thicket. Drawn to Mythos of Aluna. Oh my god. Mythos of Aluna on Oracle of Muldiah. There's a land and a land. Swamp and Fabled Passage off the top. They've got a treasure map coming up. Opponent's got the major ramp going on. There's a Scarab God. Luckily there's nothing in our graveyards, so doesn't do a whole lot right now, but it is a 5/5, kind of a beefy threat. Card's absolutely brutal. It will take over the game once things start dying. They can bring everything back from the graveyard as a 4/4 creature for 4 mana. So, Scarab God is something to watch out for. It's going to be terrifying, but that's okay. I think I'm going to just play Tendershoot Dryad and plop out another land. So I have like a chump blocker for the Scarab God. If I escape to the wilds right now, sure, I'll get to play 2 lands this turn, but I'm not going to be doing anything big. I could Hydroid Krasis as a 4/4, but then I don't have blocks for Scarab God. Yeah, I think I just Tender Shoot, play Valakut Awakening tapped, because yet again, I think I'll be playing both of these lands and this as a land. Fabled Passage is being cracked. Aurelia on top for our opponent. That is the other thing about Oracle of Muldaya. You can always see exactly how you're going to die, because they play with the top card revealed, so we get to see every card they draw for the rest of the game. So we get to see the terrifying stuff coming, and believe me, there's plenty of it. Oh, they can actually Mythos of Aluna, our Tender Shoot Dryad, and get their own. Mythos of Aluna, they can copy any permanent, and if it's a creature, they can have it fight something when it comes into play. So they can't kill our Dryad and get their own, but they can get their own Dryad. Because obviously the creature that would be fighting would be whatever they copied. So there's actually no viable targets to fight away our Tender Shoot Dryad right now. Anything they fight it away with will die. So they can use it to kill our Dryad, but they can't use it to kill our Dryad and get value right now. Because the Scarab God's legendary, so that doesn't pan out. There's Aurelia, who is also legendary, so they couldn't Mythos that either. There's a 4th mana. I hope they didn't play that untapped just to kill our Tender Shoot Dryad with something. I would like to still have it. Does this have Trample? Nope. We are gonna chump. Guess Aurelia only gives Trample if it's red. Yeah, Aurelia gives Trample if it's red and Vigilance if it's white. Alright, they've made it to Field of the Dead. And drop down Treasure Map. Things are not looking great. But we get to keep our Tender Shoot friend. I really don't want to play a Hornet Queen on this board, because a Hornet Queen gives me a ton of blockers, but then they could Mythos of Aluna or Hornet Queen, which would be terrible for us. They get to copy Hornet Queen, get 4 1/1 Flying Death Touchers, and kill Tender Shoot Dryad off of that one card. That'd be absolutely brutal. I think I just play Hydroid Krasis here, because if they try to Mythos of Aluna that, it's just a 0/0 and dies. So I just don't want to run into that. I still don't really want to escape to the wilds. I don't have anything that like wipes the whole board, but I guess I could find removal for Scarab God possibly. I don't think we're in a good position here, because the other thing is if they just Mythos of Luna to kill Tender Shoot Dryad, they can bring it back with their Scarab God, and they have their own 4/4 Tender Shoot Dryad. Things are looking real bad here. Our opponent definitely ramped up better than we did with a Field of the Dead as well. Got 6 mana, so I guess I'm playing Krasis for 4. Oh, I actually have 7. So yeah, we'll play it for 5 then. Draw 2, gain 2. Have a nice blocker that could trade with Aurelia. I can actually kill Aurelia right now. Aurelia only buffs +2, so Aurelia attacks as a 4/5 if she targets herself. Alright, we're at the City's Blessing as well, so these Saproling tokens start being a little better than just chump blockers. They are now better than the zombies. So I think if I were my opponent here... Oh no, they're drawing Domri? Alright, if I were my opponent here, I would just do whatever I want, because they're going to win no matter what now. If I didn't know what they were drawing into, I probably would have Mythos away the Dryad, bring it back with the Scarab God's ability, but now they can just use Domri and have our Dryad fight a zombie without even spending a card on it, because Domri stays on board as a 1 loyalty thing, and they're just trading with a token. And then they still get to bring back the Tendershoot Dryad with their Scarab God. What? I would not do that. Definitely disagree with that one. It's not the worst in the world. Scarab God's going to go back into their hand. They'll just replay it. But that's really weird to me. I don't think Hydroid Krasis was a threat at all. Not an immediate threat. I mean, it was a blocker that they'd have to deal with soon. But with the Scarab God, like, you just want to set up to have a ridiculous board to where all you have to do is get rid of the Hydroid Krasis. Any more turns they allow me to keep my Tendershoot Dryad here is going to be massive. Oh, I guess because Domri's on board now, their Dryads are 2/3, so they can just kill it with that. But now at least they don't immediately get to get value out of my Dryad. They don't immediately get to bring it back with the Scarab God. They will soon enough. Alright, well, I think we make a chump still. Now that Mythos is gone, we can cast Hornet Queen pretty freely. They do have Niv-Mizzet on top. They're throwing Niv-Mizzet on bottom. I wonder why. I guess they know they're going to be spending a ton of mana anyway next turn on, like, Scarab God. Felidar Retreat is a thing. We could try to Felidar Retreat on our Hornets and win that way. That might be basically our only out, because then we have a bunch of flying attackers. They only have one blocker. So we play a Hornet Queen here. Next turn, try to Felidar Retreat and escape to the wilds, playing 2 lands that turn. That puts 2 counters on all our Hornets, gives them all vigilance. That's our best hope. Still don't think it's super likely, but I'm definitely not conceding right now. Try not to concede until it's 100% confirmed over. And while it's pretty over, Felidar Retreat gives us a potential way to victory. If we can draw into, like, a Dryad of the Elysian Grove or something, like, it's possible that we can get enough landfall triggers to kill our opponent in only, like, 2 turns with our Hornets. The problem is we also are going to have to use them defensively to not die, and anytime we block with them, they'll just be trading. They're only 2/2s and 1/1s right now. So, it's a long shot, but it is possible if our opponent doesn't get, like, really aggressive with us and we draw very well. Like, if our opponent just casts Scarab God and makes a Tendershoot Dryad and then just doesn't attack because they don't want to trade with Hornets, that'd be like our best out to victory here, because they can have as many creatures on the ground as they want. I can still get around that with flyers. Problem is I will die to the I will die to the ground creatures though. So there's that factor. Got a Mayhem Devil. Every time somebody sacrifices something, they get to do a damage to something. So now when they sacrifice their Witching Well, they get to shoot a damage at one of our Hornets. Not good for me, but hopefully they won't do that soon. It looks like they won't. They want to get that Scarab God back out first. Go into combat. Aurelia gets +2/+0 First Strike, Vigilance, or not First Strike, just Vigilance and Trample. They're going to throw it onto a zombie token. I think I'll chump block with a 1/1 here. Oh, they don't even attack. Alright, escape to the wilds. Let's see what we hit. Good stuff, please. Oh, Dryad and Wayward Swordtooth? Is it happening? I haven't played a land yet, so... Oh, I don't have the mana to play both this turn, I don't think. I play 1 additional land? Yeah, I don't have the mana, but that's so huge. So I just Felidar Retreat here. Oh. I Felidar Retreat, and I just don't play an additional land this turn, or I play one of them into Greenseeker. I totally forgot that I didn't have Felidar Retreat on board yet. This is not as huge as I thought it was. But it's good. Shatterskull Smashing is going to be huge too. I guess we're not like retreating into the win here. We're actually just trying to use these really defensively. So I play... Swordtooth is going to be my biggest blocker. Then I play another land. I get to play Dryad, play as many cards as possible this turn. Then Shatterskull Smashing could be pretty big. Doesn't do damage to players though, so I can't just like win off that. I mean, potentially, if I don't lose any creatures here, I get to, like... Oh, Escape to the Wilds gives me another land, too. I forgot about that. If I don't lose any creatures here, I could play, like, 3 or 4 lands next turn. I think I do still want to play that one, though, tapped. So I get to play 3 lands next turn if I don't lose a creature. And with Shatterskull Smashing to get rid of Aurelia, I do have the smallest chance. If our opponent does basically nothing this turn, I have an out, but I have a feeling they'll probably like sacrifice Witching Well, shoot one of my Hornets there, and probably get aggressive to where I'll have to make some blocks. But at the same time, they still don't know that I have Felidar Retreat, so they're probably not that scared. They're sitting at 18, they're like, whatever, that's a bunch of Hornets. They have their own Hornet Queen now, which is a really big issue. That's definitely a draw. They've got a Devil's Play as well. God dang it. I can't believe they just drew into their own Hornet Queen now. Did they already have that and I just didn't see? It's hard to remember that their top is always revealed, so I need to keep looking at what's going in their hands. Alright, never mind, we're screwed. I actually just got a ton of treasure tokens from Treasure Map that I totally forgot about. Should have dropped Felidar Retreat first and gotten some counters there so they couldn't just chip away at my Hornets with this Mayhem Devil. But my opponent has like 5 million things going on at once here because they've just got all the value in the world. So I totally forgot about Treasure Map flipping. I was just being like, yeah, that's a scry card. Alright, we're incredibly dead. I got really excited last turn for nothing. My best play would have been like Felidar Retreat and then play 1 land because I wouldn't have any cards out that would give me additional lands that turn. So I could play Felidar Retreat and have my Hornets all be 2/2s, in which case they would have killed just 2 of them there. But then they play their own Hornet Queen anyway, and their field is still just as big as it is right now, so that's not really a solution. It just would have been better than it is right now. That sucks. This sucks. This game's jank. Yeah, now they just Scarab got back my Tendershoe Dryad. Devil's Play on top, might as well. Just have Devil's Play with enough mana to shoot me for 13. Because Rudeness, they didn't even attack. If I play 15, 16, if I play 18 lands and kill all their flyers, I've got a chance. Dragon Master Outcast? Oh, you're so cool, but just don't help. Okay. What is my best play? Probably kill their biggest 2 flyers, but then they come back as 4/4 flyers with Scarab God. I really don't think it matters. Scarab God's also going to scry and do damage to me, and then Devil's Play just kills me. Devil's Play straight up just kills me, so it literally doesn't matter what I do unless I find a way to kill them right now, which is impossible. They have 5,000 blockers. Alright, let's do as much as we can. I think we Felidar Retreat. Get as many counters onto my cards as possible. Bam. Bam. I can do Shatterskull for like a decent amount. Ooh, I get to do another bam. Oops. 2 red and 4? I can't do 6 no matter what, so I might as well play Outcast first so it gets a counter 2. That's cool. Just a friendly reminder that I'm about to get Devil's Played to death. So I can Shatter Skull for 4. Maybe I needed to leave the 5 so I could kill Scarab God, but even if I did that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I guess I'm not actually immediately dead to Devil's Play if I kill Scarab God, but now I can't. So I am still really dead to this board. Whatever. I can only do this to 2 things. Get rid of the Mayhem Devil and a Hornet, I guess. Even when I'm playing the 5-color nonsense decks, I still get annoyed and lose to the 5-color nonsense decks. This is just my life in this cube. I am very excited. January 1st, they're adding Guilds of Ravnica draft back to Arena, and they're letting it be player draft, premier draft for the first time ever. So I'll be doing tons of Guilds of Ravnica when that comes out, and I'm pretty hyped about it because I think, as I said last video, and then in this one here, I think I've done enough of the cube runs. I'm good with it. Especially now that I've experienced 5-color nonsense firsthand. I've gotten to play it myself. I feel like I've gotten the full Arena Cube experience. Alright, so I'm getting Devil's Played for 10. That's gotta be an achievement for our opponent. Oh, they're just gonna put a... They're just gonna do the full shebang. They're gonna do a big swing. That does seem pretty fun. Look at this. That's super nice. This is an impressive field. I was gonna say a reference to Cyberpunk, but it's Super NSFW. I can make really good blocks here. I get to kill a lot of their really good creatures, but then I die. So there's that part as well. All right. -13, we're still in it. No, we're dead. Alright, so that's 3 wins and 2 losses now. I did hit the 3 wins that I said I was going to be impressed if I could achieve that much. I did. So I'm confident I did okay at drafting the 5-color strategy. But moving on, we could get even more wins. It all depends on this next round. Come on, Arena players. There's got to be somebody still playing at 11 p.m. when you work overnights. My God. Man, I would have been playing at 11 p.m. when I worked dayside. Nobody stays up late anymore. It's fair, it does get incredibly dark. Incredibly quickly at wintertime. It's a lot easier to fall asleep early. Just coming up with things to talk about because we're nearing a minute in the queue. And I'm not about to edit this video because the processing time would take longer than the video itself. So if I edit this video, there goes like 3 hours of my free time. I mean, I could still do whatever I want during that free time, but I can't use my computer while it's processing stuff. So. Oh my God, we've made it to a minute. Maybe I should rejoin the queue. Anyways, I'm super pumped for... Uh-oh. This is bad. I'm super pumped for call time. I've actually been growing my beard out for a while. It's not very big. It is nowhere near like Saffron Olive, but been growing my beard out for the call time release stream. Whenever that happens, I'm gonna, like I usually do, I'll be streaming it early on Twitch. I really hope this didn't cost me in-game time because Arena messed up. If I get into the game and my rope is going, I'm gonna be mad. Oh. Uh-oh. A draw? Well, I guess that's preferable to immediately roping my opponent. Okay. All right, Arena. You do you. I see you're going through some things. That's okay. But yeah, I got the Twitch music program downloaded. I'm ready to just blast metal the whole time. It's gonna be a fun time. I'm ready. Very excited for the debut stream as well. January 7th is when we get the debut stream of Call Time Spoilers. We do have a little bit right now. Got those early access previews. Not early access, just early sneak peek preview week previews. Sneak peek preview week. Very fun to say. But there's not a lot of spoilers. We know that sagas are back, officially. And there's officially like a dwarf that whenever your dwarves become tapped, you get a treasure token. That card's going to be sweet. And especially for like the Paula Historic Brawl decks, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited for it. There's like a green-black legendary wolf. There's a legendary god that can be an incredibly powerful equipment for limited. That just like whenever equipped creature dies, just put it back in your hand. Like that's brutal in limited. You gotta be kidding me, you know? So there's cool stuff. There's cool stuff for sure, but we definitely don't have all the mechanics and stuff spoiled, at least officially. I know there's been some leaks, but I'm not really going to talk about them, and I'm going to try to avoid them for the most part. Rashmi, Eternity's Crafter, is the first important card from our opponent. They are on green, black, blue, and a Mind Stones. They're on Sultai, with a little mana rock as well. We get to draw land off our Dryad Greenseeker, pretty nice. We've drawn into a Fauna Shaman as well. Could like search up our Niv Mizzet or something, because we have Dryad out already. We're 1 mana off from casting... Actually, no, we have the mana to cast Niv Mizzet, but Fauna Shaman does not have haste, so we can't just like, bam, do it immediately. I think I can cast Spring and Fauna Shaman, so I kind of think that's the play. Grab an island in case Dryad dies. Now I've got a blue source for Hydrocrisis and Niv Mizzet, anything we could draw there. Green's going to be most important if Dryad dies, and now I think I just drop Fauna Shaman. Could play Kazandu Mammoth as well. I don't know. I keep calling it Mammoth because Kazandu. So I want to say the A the same way. I think I want to leave Mammoth in hand so I can discard it to Fauna Shaman to pick up Niv Mizzet next turn. I have enough mana to do that. Discard this and immediately cast Niv Mizzet. Could be a pretty good turn. If Fauna Shaman survives, of course. Pretty cool artwork on this as well. Very nice Shaman. Skyclave Relic coming out for our opponent, and Rashmi is going to hit a Hydroid Crisis. Not a great draw. For Rashmi, that is. It is a great draw that they have it in their hand, but it's not something you can cast with Rashmi or it'll come out as a 0/0. So that will be pretty good in the future. They do have 2 mana rocks out, so they've got 6 mana right now. We just drew another flip land, which is nice. We got 2 lands to play this turn. Pretty beautiful. I have 2 white sources, 3 red sources. Doesn't really matter here, I don't think. I guess I'll choose white. Let's use Fauna Shaman to pick up Niv Mizzet. Plop that boy out. And now I've got Shatter Skull Smashing still, and I have the 8 mana for it too, to do the biggest thing I could. Disdainful Stroke off the 2 mana. I wasn't expecting that at all. Not expecting a random counterspell. That's unfortunate. And they get to draw a card off Rashmi during my turn too. Doesn't even just trigger during their turn. Oh, this is really bad. I could definitely see this turning into our 3rd loss off of that Disdainful Stroke. If it weren't for that, we'd be in a really good position, but now we're in a really bad position. because our opponent has a Hydroid Crisis coming up. They've got 7 cards in hand, and I'm sitting here with 1 card in hand and a Mind in our graveyard. We are really not in a good position. Card-wise, our opponent is at a major advantage. I still don't think that was like... That wasn't the wrong play or anything, because it's not like I could do anything else. They just had a counter. I guess the best thing I could have done if we were playing around a counter and expecting one would have been to grab a Hydroid Crisis, because even if that gets countered, it's like, it's fine. You still gain the life and draw the cards. So I suppose we should have like Fauna Shaman for Hydroid Crisis. And maybe we could do something. So now I have Shatter Skull Smashing to kill Rashmi and Tezzeret. If I do that, I don't have it for their Crisis, but I think that's fine because I have Valorous Stance for that. And I think that just smashing here is better than Mind, because this also gets us to start attacking with our stuff on board so they can stop. It makes it so they can't just keep sitting here and playing stuff that draws cards. They have to actually commit to the board or start getting smacked. Granted, for only like 4 a turn, but Hydroid Crisis is really going to help them here because that's kind of the perfect card for this situation. It's going to let them commit to the board, get a blocker out, and still keep doing their value thing of drawing cards. So I'm expecting just a full tap out for Crisis here, and then we'll Valorous Stance it. So they did the full Crisis play, draw 3, gain 3. Pretty good. We'll go ahead and tap our Green Seeker. Not a land, but Tristani Discordant is a great draw, and we do have enough mana to play Tristani and Valorous Stance, which I'll absolutely do, so I'm hitting them for a lot more than I would have been now. And destroy that Hydroid Crisis. Hitting for 8 here. Down to 11. However, now we have no cards in our hand, and our opponent has 8. And Languish is huge after that. So that's not great, but we still have Mind to draw cards. We don't want to be top-decking lands right now. I don't have a second blue. Oh my god, I don't have a second blue. I can't actually cast Mind right now. Well, we definitely lose then. This was another situation where the board wipe did hit us really, really badly, but there was no way I was just going to sit here and not play around, and not play Tristani, because the only board wipe that they could have in Sultai that could have done that would have been Ugin or Languish, and Ugin would kill us no matter what. Languish would be the only black board wipe that would have been big enough to kill all our stuff. Otherwise, they could have just given like -$2 stuff, which would suck a little bit, but definitely not as bad. I probably shouldn't have played this into the Cruel Reality, but I'm just going to lose regardless. If I don't play this, I just go to 9 instead. Yeah, I think I should have just should have just sat on Rashmi. Oh, they just have removal for it anyway. Oh, I could Banishing Light their Cruel Reality so I don't have a clock on me anymore at least. They probably have another counter spell. I think we're just getting Sultai controlled out of this game. Opponent is just having the answers when they need them. The counter spell for the Mizzet and the Languish for our board. But yeah, I stand by that Tristani play, because the alternative is that we're not doing a lot of pressure on them when they have a gigantic grip of cards. When we're in a huge card disadvantage, we have to just throw everything we can at them and hope to just beat them down before they like have enough mana to play all their stuff all at once, you know? If you can hit your opponent for like 9 a turn, it doesn't matter if they have like 20 cards in hand if they can only play 1 or 2 a turn. It's the hope. We are super about to die. Hornet Queen would save us, but we don't have enough to cast it. even if we did, I suspect our opponent would have the counterspell. Because that seems to be how this game is going. Well, we did the exact 3-3 run. So I can't be disappointed. I said at basically the very start of this video that that would be what I was hoping for, that or better, and I'd be proud. But we were 3-0 at the start of this draft, so I was really hoping for better. It's definitely a huge whiplash. Huge feels bad when you get multiple losses in a row like that, with no wins in between. So, 3 wins, 3 losses. That is going to be it for that cube draft. It might be my last cube draft for a little while. We'll see. Depends on when I upload this one. What I can say for sure is I will be back next year, January 1st, at the latest, with Guilds of Ravnica drafts. So that should be a lot of fun. And I think they're bringing back Ravnica Allegiance as well at some point. But yeah, definitely we'll be doing some Guilds of Ravnica drafts next year. And until then, maybe a cube or two. We'll see. Maybe I'll just chill for the holiday season. I'd like to thank you all for watching. As always, if you want more of these videos, just stick around on the channel, hit that sub button, check out the playlist for more cube videos, all of that good stuff. And I will see you again very soon.